Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Cluster Puck Podcast, part of the MHRT Network. Wait a minute, that's the camera we want. Uh, Here at Center Ice, I am Nick. Beside me, as always, is Brit. How's it going, Brit?
Good. How are you?
Doing wonderful, especially that we have only good news to talk about. Well, one piece of bad, but the rest is good, so that makes me happy.
It's been a wild couple days.
It really has. So
A
lots
week,
to talk
actually.
about.
It's. I think this is the most drama we've had as Avs fans in a long time. I feel like for a team that's been like really
Yeah.
low key, they've been just really blowing it up lately.
They have, and it's I'm kind of here for it, but at the same time, it does give me minor heart attacks every about 6 minutes or so. So
Yeah, as long as
uh,
it stays all good, then we're
as long
fine.
as as long as we end up winning, that's kind of
Yeah.
the result we care about. But before we get started, don't forget everyone to like and subscribe, follow the MHRT network so you can get notified when shows like the Clusterfuck podcast go live. You can follow them on the various social media platforms that they carry. If you want to follow us, you can follow us specifically at the Clusterpuck Podcast on Facebook and then at Clusterpuck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Okay, Britt. A good chunk of things to get to in today's agenda. So let's kind of talk about the games that happened and then kind of go sailing from there. So last week we talked about the games that were going to happen as well as the start of our road trip, our little Pacific/St. Louis road trip.
Yeah.
The good news, the Avs won every single game. That's
Yeah.
the
We
plus,
handle road trips now, I guess.
I guess. So we'll talk about the three games that happened since the last time we talked, which was the Avalanche win over the Wild, the Flames, and most recently the Canucks. So let's dive into the Wild game. This is Val Nichushkin's first game back from the player assistance program, and that's kind of the highlight that I have is he's the overtime goal scorer. And
I mean,
yeah,
can we just send everybody to the player assistance program at this point? Like, can we just
yeah,
go
might as
clear
well.
all of them of their various vices or whatever it is? Because I mean, he might be the most underrated player in the NHL at this point with how he's playing right now. I know that it kind of has caught on his appreciation, but it's not nearly where it belongs. I believe
Mhm.
he's still like fifth in power play goals, even after missing like 2 months
Yeah.
of hockey. He looks incredible. I mean, he looks so incredible, and he looks just healthy and happy. And he's not
Yeah.
exactly like a dubious guy, but he looks so good, and he looks. Oh my God, he's kicking ass. This team, he is crucial to this team at this point. As much
Really
as
is.
in and out on loving him, maybe trusting him is more the word. This team needs him so bad.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you see the night and day difference versus when he's off the ice not playing versus when he's on. And granted, you do notice these little differences with many players, but with Nichushkin, it just seems like the whole essence of what the Colorado Avalanche is just kind of rests on him.
Yeah.
It's just the most amazing thing. So in this game, the game overall though, it had a super big like playoff vibe, I guess. Very low scoring, Lehkonen nets a goal 42 seconds in, and you're thinking, oh boy, this is gonna be fun, right?
This is
And
twice
that's it.
now. I've missed the first 4 minutes of a game and everything goes insane. I tune into a game
Everything happened.
thinking that the anthem isn't even over, and my phone starts going crazy the second I turn it on, and there's already a couple goals scored, a couple people died. Like, it's insane how much is occurring in the
Some
first like
people
5 minutes of our games lately. I hate it.
No, seriously, it just seems like everything. And that is one thing that I did want to kind of look into because in these other couple games, same thing. First 5 or so minutes, everything's just bottled right into the all the goals, anything that happens just kind of happens in those first 5 minutes of the game. Granted,
Yeah.
it goes against the Avalanche's favor, but it's so strange that just seems to be the MO of the Avalanche this season. I mean, we're almost toward the end of the season, and I can kind of say that's about where we're at. We're with every single game, every single time, just something happens in those first few minutes. So in the second period, this is when the Wild tie up the game. Brock Faber gets a goal, and that, like I said, that's your scoring for regulation. You know, it's not a very typical Avalanche game that we see, especially this low scoring. But a very impressive playoff atmosphere in that arena. So great to get a win. Obviously, we're very happy about that. Especially because.
Sorry. Sorry, breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, because this would have been the first one where our new. Oh no, you're good. I was just going to say in this game it was one where your 4 new pieces were playing, right? So there was still some gelling that needed to be done.
The vibes were weird,
and
we knew that was going to happen. I mean, they hadn't even had a true practice, I don't think, yet. Duhaime looked so good in this game. Like, I have immediately fallen in love with Duhaime. Middlestat was it left me worried just a little bit in this game. I mean, but this was finally time that we saw, of all people, Georgiev stand up and stand out when we needed him to. I'd say that he really kind of stole this game, because I think it was like the first 2 periods we really didn't play very good. And I really do think that he stole the game. And so kind of finally got this glimpse of like him being capable of stealing a game, even as the new guys fumbled. And we knew that was going to happen. But I really thought Duhaime looked great in this game. And obviously things have changed, and we'll go through the next few games. But it was just an odd game. It felt very clumsy. And especially in that rink, it's a big, very full, very powerful rink. And it's there's just always something about playing the Wild that's just not, I don't know. But it was just crazy to see how Duhaime performed.
Yeah.
He probably hadn't even finished cleaning out his stall in that very arena.
Yeah, he probably had to hop back on the team's plane and grab a few of his personal belongings.
Yep.
But either way, a great win. Obviously, welcome back, Val Nichushkin. That was a great welcome back game for him. And we're not going to be done talking about him. I'll tell you that much right now. We'll move on to the Calgary game. A 6-2 thrashing over the Flames in my opinion, ugliest stadium in the NHL, the Saddle Dome. You kind of began to lose in the first period, but that second period you caught fire in like the most hazardous way, and you just didn't stop scoring. 5 goals in the second period and en route to a 6-2 victory. What are your thoughts on this, Britt? What'd you think of the game?
It felt like this moment where like everybody just, our first line, you know, everybody, I know that I think that our new like personality description as the Avs is coming as like a one-line team, which last year we kind of were a one-line team, but I'm hoping that we can sneak in now as a team with a lot of really dimensional depth, like very interesting crew. It's not all, you know, fast, pretty boys. The second line was phenomenal. Our first line kicked ass. They did exactly what they needed to do. Val is incredible. But that second line, Middlestat, Drouin, and who was on the line with them?
So Middlestat, Drouin, and I believe they threw. Did they throw Trennan onto that line, or Duhaime? One of those two. I think it was one of the new guys.
But it was incredible. It was one of those things where we would see. There was a couple times where we watched the first line or the second line just pound and pound and pound and pound. And we were able to swap players and new lines out and keep that pressure. And a couple of those goals came because we were able to continue that pressure while funneling out a new line and having fresh lines, like a whole fresh set of legs out there, and then finish it off. And we've seen that before with Colton. When we have the Roaring 20s line kind of play in the second line, but it's so much faster and it's so much more elite when it's Middlestat is this game. He's really started to settle in, and oh my God, we're going to keep this. I truly feel that he is our 2 seed.
We got to lock him down.
I want to sign Duhaime right now. Trennan is single-handedly going to transform our faceoff percentages. He's been doing super good on the faceoff, but the other
and penalty kill for that matter.
And that's the thing is like then the whole other aspect is our penalty kill that's been absolutely we just can't get any sense of regularity or any stability in it. Our penalty kills it's so much different. And Walker too.
Really
I mean,
is.
we filled, it truly feels like every hole has been filled at this point. Kind of feels like the only hole left might be the goaltending. I don't know. We're going to have to see. But this game was like a absolute clinic and kind of one of those holy shit. Okay, we finally got to take a deep breath and truly believe and not just try to convince ourselves that we are Stanley Cup contenders again. I'm pretty realistic. I think about it. Last year I didn't, but this year we're there. I mean, it's the same as everyone else. We need our goalie to be on and our guys to be on. And I really have a lot of faith in this team now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you talked about that as far as like having a team, like the togetherness, having every spot filled. That was kind of one of the big things when the Avalanche won the Cup a couple seasons ago. They had depth. They had all these pieces that were able to play right in the space and position that they needed to be. Yeah. This team, and I totally agree with you, Britt, this team now feels complete. Yeah. And so now it's the question of these last 20 games or so, just to meld, get everything together, but you're gonna start to get pushing into that playoff mode. And I think the timing couldn't be any more perfect, especially with the addition of these 4 new guys and how they're going to blend in.
He hit a new personal high, I think is 113. I think he hit it in the Minnesota game or last night, but McKinnon's at 113 points. That's a career high for him. He's playing better than he did the Stanley Cup year, significantly better, if we're being honest, especially going into the stretch. Because if I recall correctly, that was the nose break off his own stick, and then he hurt his hand. He had like a couple of various injuries. It felt like McKinnon was not even the most important part of our team, the Stanley Cup year. Granted, we had Gabriel Landeskog, but McKinnon is essentially pulling the weight of 2 elite forwards at this point on the team. So
he really is.
It feels unstoppable. And we do have Kovalenko still coming, and it does feel like we have like a plethora of extras, but you have to think the Stanley Cup year, you have to have that. We scratched Andrei Burakovsky in the playoffs. I mean, so you have to have that many, and it finally feels that we're going to be making those tough decisions, especially after this game. Cogliano, he's really struggling, it feels like. There's just certain times that he really seems to be struggling, but there might be times that we have to choose to scratch people like that are honestly kind of part of our core and our foundation. But he's also a guy that knows, sometimes you have to swallow it, and everybody has a place and a role, and he's definitely a role player at this point in his career.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And so it's a good problem to have, but you do have to make a couple of, heart-shattering decisions, especially when you have a team this deep now. But the other part that the other 2 items I wanted to touch on real quick in this Calgary game was Justus Annunen after letting 2 in within the first 6 or 7 minutes of the game.
Oh my God.
He shut it down.
Yeah.
And he and that was gonna be one of the things I was looking at, was when he gets scored on, or if we lose a lead or whatever it is, if we're down, I want to see how Annunen reacts in that type of scenario, because the last 2 starts he had were just
telling of a person, a goalie.
Exactly. They were shutouts, so that he was used to no goals. So now I'm trying to figure out, what will he do when we're down? And
being able to close it up like that is honestly so remarkable as a young goalie, because
it's great.
It just proves that he's got like a mental, just like a strongness to him, that you watch people like Binnington and Bobrovsky and some of the best goaltenders that have ever lived, freaking Patrick Waugh, some of those guys, they let in 2 goals in 2 minutes and they're going to lose their mind and be rattled. You may as well just pull them there. And I was honestly almost surprised that we didn't, and thank God that we didn't, because he ended up finishing out that game. He played phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's kind of why
why this team's goalies cannot start a game historically. I say this over and over again, but historically our goalies do not come out prepared, and I don't understand.
Just wait till we talk about Vancouver. That's one of the items I was going to bring
But
up.
it's a trend that's spanning over years. So I just don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's, but that's the thing is at least you have they close it down bit to fall back on. You don't want to, but at least you have it. Anyway, the second little item I wanted to bring up before we move on to the Vancouver game, obviously 5 goals in the second period. All of our new guys are starting to click, right? You got your really amazing wrist shot goal by Middlestat. You had an assist by Walker and Duhaime, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. I do want to address that assist from Duhaime. What a heads up play! Finding, he's facing his own net on his own blue line.
For a grinder that's not supposed to be hockey IQ, he's just
it was a super
work
heads
it
up
out.
play.
That was some Rantanen level. I mean, it was just beautiful.
A super heads up play. So,
and that's it. Rantanen was all over it too. Some of his passes, I mean, they were just flowing like butter.
And his impossible angle shot after Makar hit the crossbar. What else can you say? I mean,
he's just maddening. He's a maddening human being. Honestly, he needs to donate himself after he dies, because I'd love to just see what random genetics are in there, because he is just an absolute specimen. He is so unbelievable sometimes that it's just like, I mean, there are spans of time where he's 10 times better and so much smarter than Mac on the ice. He's so beyond most people on the ice as far as like hockey IQ and the ease of seeing it and understanding and, really getting a good view of the ice. If McKinnon had that, he would freaking he would be 1,000 times better than anyone. Yeah. But Rantanen he doesn't have that that beast mode the same way that McKinnon does. So it's not as loud and obnoxious, but God, when he's good, he's so good. And when he's bad, he's so bad.
That's true. That's true. Moving on to the Vancouver game. This game this is kind of what I'm sure a lot of you guys tuning in are expecting to hear, because I have thoughts. I don't know if you have thoughts, Brit, but I gave up on this game. I will be the first to admit, when we went down 2-0, I kind of was like, this is how it's going to be, because we weren't good on the road. And I was saying, at this point, a good butt kicking might be what we need. I don't know, So I kind of just
blah blah blah. Scheduled loss, second half of back-to-back.
Exactly, right. So that's where my brain was at. I gave up. I really did. I kept the game on.
Drouin, Lehkonen, who else are we missing from the lineup?
So we're missing O'Connor.
It's almost like the world just doesn't want Nuke and Lecky to play at the same time. It's kind of how I'm starting to feel. But Lehkonen, Drouin, LOC, obviously. We have another day to there, don't we?
Yeah, we'll talk about LOC, but no, I think that was it.
But anyway, Drouin and Middlestat. Not was on the line with Middlestat. It's safe to say that Middlestat has already established himself as somebody valuable in these games. So yeah, it's back to back. We expected to lose. We expected it to be rough, but 2-0. First two shots.
First two goals for Vancouver. Yep.
0% save average is not what we aim for.
Nope. And that was the big factor that I listened to prior podcasts, and people did touch on this, that Georgiev started to have this trend of first shot, first goal, and then he closes it down. But in this case, it was first two shots, first goal.
It should be so much harder to close it down after you shit yourself in front of 20,000 people than it should be to just come out and start hot after you've just been listening to your loud Russian rap music. Like, you should. It's so weird. It's like, I don't know.
It is a strange feeling to be able to do that. But then Nikita Zadorov, former Avalancheman Nikita Zadorov, scores a goal, and then you go down 3-0. Wow. Now, in the back of my mind, I said to myself, like I said, I had given up, but I had that thought in my head that says, we came back from 3 goals down twice before in this season. Yeah, it can happen. I mean, you're going to have a lot less time, but it can happen.
And again, arguably the best team in the league right now.
Exactly. Best in the West for sure.
Yeah.
So it was going to be a super tall order. No,
Mhm.
that wasn't going to be out of the question. Or 3 seconds left in the second period, and Rantanen gets us on the board. So my breath of fresh air was
Oh, wasn't it
this.
Taze? Oh no, Rantanen got a
That
shot
was
from Taze.
Yeah,
Taze just
it
blasted it.
was a really good visual sight from Taves to just kind of
Yeah.
throw it toward the crease, and Rantanen just put it home. 3 seconds left in the second period. So you go into the second intermission down 3-1. And
Which
I
we were
said
all so bitter by then that it was like, oh, cool, you scored a goal. Like, I don't
that was
think any
kind
of
of
us.
how it was. I had the half and half thing when I was like,
Yeah.
it could,
But
it
if you go
could.
scroll through Twitter, a lot of tweets aged real poorly that came right around the middle of
Yeah,
the second period. There are some
yeah.
real pissed off people. And especially considering a lot of them are some of the more level-headed Avs fans. They're not usually the doom and gloom, but I think that even the most level-headed Avs fans kind of lost their shit last night.
Yeah, I guilty. I will, like I said.
Yeah.
Anyway, third period begins. This one belonged entirely to the Avalanche. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Canucks had a grand total of 5 shots on goal in that third period, I think is what they ended up with, something like that. But just as soon as that first goal from Mikko going into the intermission, they probably had this big old pep talk, I'm sure.
Mhm.
And they came flying out of the gates. And by them, I mean Nathan MacKinnon on the 5-on-3 power play, which is good when you're double shorthanded. And then a very lucky puck rotation above the line from Ross Colton while falling back on his knees, getting checked.
Ross Colton is like just like
Amazing.
cutest chaos. He's just such a, I don't know. He's a funny guy.
So that whole time, like, the game's tied. I didn't think we'd get to that point. Right. So I am very elated. I'm kind of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy when it comes to my emotions. When watching Avalanche games,
That's why we watch hockey, but
that's how hockey is, right?
it was like levels of despair last night. It's like, because this kind of felt like, okay, they played one good game together, and now
it's
we've
all
got
kind
this
of
big test
crashing.
game where the measuring stick, we're going to see how all of our big moves, like, basically like sum up what we're going to do for the rest of the year. And then we came out, and I mean, when Georgiev is that bad, and it was like, all right, well, this is us. We're not going to, we are going to get bounced in the first round is really what I think what a lot of people are feeling. But that third period, we saw them come out in the, I mean, Makar and Taze, they were on the ice for all 3 goals, and they all they both made mistakes that caused those 3 goals. But then we saw in the third period, we saw Stanley Cup champion like attitudes from guys like Josh Manson. That's Josh Manson that won us the Stanley Cup. He played phenomenal. Samuel Girard, he played amazing in the third. Makar and Taze, they were the driving factors they were a huge offensive driving factor. Really hope that those guys can put it together, because we need them to play like that every period, pretty much once the playoffs start until we're done. But the third period was pretty much like the emergency resuscitation of happiness for.
No, seriously, it really was. And you're absolutely right. I thought that one of the coolest comebacks was going to unfold when they called that delay a game with about 8 seconds left. When I can't remember, was it Höglander or someone? I can't remember who, but they delayed a game penalty, so the Avalanche are up a man with 8 seconds left, face off in their zone. I said this would be the most amazing thing if you win the face off, you kick it out to whoever, slap shot goes in with half a second left, coolest regulation win. Obviously that didn't happen, but I was like, I kind of think that'd be really cool. But anyway, so you go to overtime, which to me, I'm like, okay, we got a point out of this. I'm happy. I'm content at this point.
Yeah, I'm just happy even if we had gone and they scored in the first 12 seconds. It's fine.
Yep. And
I mean, that was honestly the comeback I think, of the year. I cannot think of a more exciting. I think Toronto had a 3-0 comeback that was pretty
And
loud,
same
but
with Dallas.
this
Yeah.
has to go out in the NHL as probably one of the more insane games.
Well, and I think the reason why, Britt, is because you did it in 20 minutes and 3 seconds.
Exactly. Conquering it within the
Plus your overtime. So,
yes.
which
Yeah.
it was like, what, a minute into overtime? Not a lot of time. So you did in
No.
20, we'll say 21 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, and then also I forgot to mention, I heard
shot it over the glass.
I can't remember the number if I wrote it down. To make us feel a little bit better, the Canucks have scored like 20 goals in the first 5 minutes of the game throughout this year. So like whatever they're doing to prepare for the game, we should like do that because they know how to start a game. So, I mean, it is something, it's a pattern for us, but also fortunately it's a pattern for them.
Yep. So in that overtime period, 30 seconds in is officially the timestamp on this. So we'll say 20 minutes and 33 seconds was all you needed to complete a comeback. But Nathan MacKinnon, we're on the power play, so that's a plus. It gets this little pass back and forth between Cale and Nate. Nate rockets it. It bounces off a leg and off of the visor of a one Val Nichushkin, who has scored in 3 consecutive games.
Earlier this year to score a goal. Was it the game that I was at?
So we know him as the ricochet master, right? Because it will bounce off of literally any body part you have off of Nichushkin.
When you're 6'12" and 400.
Like seriously, I think he had one bounce off his butt. Like he's had those types of goals, and they go for him. And this one, it shoots, it goes up, hits him in the visor, and just rolls right in. And the comeback is completed. And like I said, it's a very important second point because now we are in first in the Central Division.
Yeah. So
we were third to begin that game.
And this game is going to live in their brains for a long time. They're going to take this with them to when I would assume when we meet them in the playoffs, it's going to sit in the back of their brain that they are literally not safe ever against us because you're not supposed to win games. I think last year there was like record set for, maybe it was this year, for like multi-goal comebacks. The NHL is just changing. Like you're never safe. There's so many goals being scored. And now it's kind of nice that can sit in their brain and always just be a little bit of, an uncomfortable
in their side.
Thought from, yeah.
100% agree. So anyway, you walk out of this with 6 points, 3 wins. 2, granted, it needed overtime, but a win is a win. And you need to start stacking these up now, especially in this tight of a race that you have in the Central Division. Every point is going to matter. Granted, we don't have to pull what Minnesota did a couple games back, where they pulled an empty netter in an overtime period.
I love it.
But I didn't know that rule. You lose the point you gained if it's scored upon.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Cool.
That's an interesting rule. So we don't need to do that, which is nice.
But they have nothing to lose. They should just go try all the dumb shit. You know what I mean? Just
might as well.
The NHL is so not fun. And that's the problem, is it happens so little that there's no way for us to find out because it hasn't happened in 20 years that no one would have a reason to talk about it.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it's awesome.
No, it was really cool. But like I said, luckily the Avs don't need to do that. They don't need to go that far drastic measures.
How did you feel when you saw MacKinnon out there for overtime? Like, are you ever just like, can we just maybe not play him for this overtime? Because he's not. I don't like him in overtime.
I do have those thoughts occasionally where I'm like, can't we just put like some other people out there where we don't care if it's win or lose. We got a point out of it. Because I kind of just want to see what they would, because like I want to put Middlestat, Lehkonen, and Drouin out there. I want to see what it looks like.
But Middlestat, Lehkonen, I worry, is that too many passers and not enough.
And that's the thing, is I'm curious, but that's just me. But you obviously put your best out there, and now with the last stretch of the season, it makes sense why. But I have always wanted to experiment with overtime.
I just got to get over, I think, feeling uncomfortable with MacKinnon out there for overtime, because he kind of wrecked a lot of them for a long while there. He's not, I don't know. He's crazy, but sorry.
No,
tangent.
you're good. Okay. Switching gears then. Let's talk about a very important piece of news. So we now know why the Avalanche went out and grabbed 4 guys instead of 3 that they needed to fill. And that is because in recent news from this week, if you saw our post, you know why. Logan O'Connor is going to he got season-ending surgery, hip surgery. What am I trying to say? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yep. It's on his.
Um,
Yep.
and this one is tough, right? Because he was your guy when it came to, important assists, shoving people off the puck. He wasn't afraid to get in a fight. Penalty kill was a big thing for
Salt
him.
of the earth, like kind of just like a quiet heartbeat on this team. One of those people that people like Casey or Chris Johnson, like they'll randomly throw him in and like trade rumors or whatever as like a throw-in because they don't know how truly valuable someone like him is to the team. Like just quietly one of the most cherished and valued people that I mean, short of our top line, it's hard to say that anyone else is more valuable than him.
Yeah, and that's why it hurts, is because of his work ethic. He consistently puts in 100% every shift, every night, right? And it's not an easy thing to replace because there's many aspects in which you will have to find a replacement part, so to speak. With the PK, you're going to have someone new on his position. With the that Roaring 20s line, you're going to have to find somebody that gels with Colton and Wood. There's a lot of different parts with him. He's a lot more valuable than people give him credit for, and that's why it sucks because he's a very important piece. Even though he's a third liner, still really important.
Yeah.
Yep. So obviously he'll be missed, but now we know why. Like I said, we grabbed 4 guys instead of 3. So let's kind of talk about that then. So with the now missing Logan O'Connor, they went and grabbed 4 to, I guess, because they knew this was going to happen. Let's kind of talk about how these new 4 guys are doing. Britt, I know you've kind of sung their praises a little bit here, but let's kind of take a little bit in a deep dive as far as all 4 players. So let's kind of start with the first guy we went and grabbed, Sean Walker. What do you think of Sean right now?
Can you hear me?
I got you. I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
You're breaking up for me.
Nothing?
I'm going to refresh. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm going to refresh this really quick.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if let me hear.
Hope you're good. Okay. So I guess I'll go ahead and give my thoughts while this is being refreshed. Sean Walker. So obviously we grab him from the Flames. He fits in like a glove. If I'm going to be completely honest, I think he fits in extremely well with the team. He's got that play style that the Avalanche like. He's extremely fast. We saw a lot of those flashes with him in the Calgary game and the Vancouver game. There were some times I thought he single-handedly was going to take out their defenses as a defenseman, which is the most amazing part. So he's got kind of Cale Makar-esque vibes. This is kind of the thing, though, is he's the guy that effectively replaced Bowen Byram, right? He does what Bowen Byram does, and he's kind of got the experience to come along with it. So again, I think it's 100% a great move that they did. The Avalanche did, I should say. He's going to get goals. I know that for sure. I think he's going to be extremely valuable in the playoffs just because he's got that that hardness to him. He's a very physical body. He's going to do well. He fits in this Avalanche organization extremely well. So if all 4 of these guys, really, I've been impressed with all 4 so far. But with Sean Walker, I would definitely say he's been the most eye-catching so far just because he's putting in a lot of effort and it's being noticed. Going on then, I think the next guy we got was Casey Middlestat. So obviously we trade him for Bo Byram 1-for-1. he is what is going to fill your 2C position. Now he's taken a little bit of time to meld. He's already got a goal, which is nice. But I think it's going to work. I'm very happy with what I've seen so far. I've liked it.
Can you
Are
see
you
me?
back? Yeah.
I don't know why I just got kicked off of StreamYard, I think.
You just wanted to not listen to me. I get it. It's fine.
No. Are we still on Sean Walker?
I was just going to finish actually a thought with Middlestat, and then I'll have you to talk about Walker and Middlestat at the same time. Is that all right? Okay, so with Middlestat, like I said, I like his play. His wrist shot is very unique, I will say. He it's different than most that I've seen. Obviously, there's been a couple of instances where he's had to go onto that first power play unit, didn't quite know what he was doing, but he does a really good quarterbacking job in that second power play unit, kind of where he's used to. Like I said, he's already got a goal. I think we've got a guy in the 2C position. He's very quick. He's again, but he has things that Ryan Johansson just simply didn't, right? And granted, Johansson was kind of your face-off guy. Well, we got that with Trennan now. So, but overall, I'm extremely happy with Middlestat, what he's been doing. I'm looking forward to more goals from him. Obviously, he's going to be kind of that focus on that second line. So overall, I think so far we're 2 for 2 as far as trades are concerned. Sean Walker, excellent choice, fits with the team perfectly. Middlestat is gelling just great. So I'd say that's kind of my opinion with the 2 new guys so far. What about you, Britt?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that we can there's kind of a theme among the guys that we've gotten, particularly these 2. With Sean Walker, he's kind of just been underutilized, I guess, or maybe underappreciated. I think that he's going to come out feeling like the Devon Tays trade light. I think that he's going to end up being so valuable to this team that people are going to be like, why did they give him, just like that Islanders, like they didn't pay nearly enough for him. He had his tenure, I think, was it with the Kings that he played with? He has been an elite penalty kill for a long time. He's not absolutely elite at essentially anything else, but he's just very, very safe and stable, predictable for your coach. A kind of guy that Bednar loves to have, that he will put on the ice. And he doesn't really seem scared of anything. He's not avoiding anything. He's not lazy in any specific places. He's getting in all the corners. I think that with the responsibility that we're going to give him, I really think we're going to see him flourish in ways that he hasn't on any other team, because he really hasn't had a chance to play meaningful hockey with responsibility like we're going to give him. And you're going to have a lot of responsibility. Like, we expect you to come with us to win a Stanley Cup. So I think that, I really think that he's going to see that. He seems like a very level-headed, really smart guy. I really like him a lot. He's a little bit older, like he's not older, but he's like 29, but we could still see at this point, I have no, argument in re-signing every single guy that we brought on. I fully anticipate and look forward to keeping all of them. And something that I've noticed too is these guys are so damn happy to be here. They're all so happy. And even McKinnon, after that win, like, they just look so light and breezy, and just, you know, what's the term that we've heard a lot since Johansson left? We've heard addition by subtraction. And I have never heard that saying so many times in my life as we have added happiness and subtracted the butthole from the roster, is basically what this seems to come down to, that there was clearly such a rift in the room. And even in our like biggest struggles since we have gotten rid of Johansson, when we saw the Vancouver game, you see them not like turn against each other and get angry. And that comeback is such proof that this is a group that's willing to work together and like, you know what I mean? Band together and win something, as opposed to band together and then call each other out, or not band together and call each other out in an interview afterwards. Like, it feels different in the interviews, in every way. And Middlestat, he comes right into it. He was a little bit cold the first day, but I mean, he didn't exactly have like a short distance to travel or a lot of time. I'm not sure that he even got a single practice with the team. I don't know why my face looks really weird on the camera. It's weirding me out. Middlestead is another one that I think is going to come down where people are just going to be like the freaking Avalanche, man, because he just really hasn't played any meaningful hockey. He's not played somewhere where there's something to play for other than just playing in the NHL, which granted they're NHL players. They're going to play hard, whether they're playing for the Coyotes or Ottawa or anywhere. But this is such a good time for a guy that's 24. I mean, he is like peak ready to flourish, and he seems so ready and so capable of taking that. I love him, man. I just absolutely love him. And I think that he molds so well with, so nice to have like with Duran, and we've got Lehkonen, Rantanen, just essentially our top, you could even venture as far to say our top 8 are so fluid. Like they could move so freely and so fluid depending on injuries, line matching, what we're trying to do that particular night. At this point, it feels like we could really pair up anyone with anyone, especially having Nuke back.
Mm-hmm.
It feels so good having guys like him that truly, just another guy like Duran that just come in and they flourish wherever they're put.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And that's kind of how it's been for the next 2 guys. So the following day, obviously, we went and grabbed Brandon Duhaime and Yakov Trenin. Again, then, like I said, last week, I was a bit confused as to kind of at least the Duhaime bit. And a little bit just so to that extent. It was confusing at first. Obviously, now, retrospect, we know why. But these 2 guys, I'll give my opinion on these 2 guys first. Duhaime, definitely a presence, I will say. He's kind of one of those he's everywhere type players, right? He's got a lot of the I guess Andrew Cogliano 2.0 type of vibes, where you'll just find him in any scrum. He's not afraid to be one of those guys that crashes the boards during a puck chase. He's kind of that guy that's been found everywhere, doing anything and everything. He's just another workhorse. And like you said, Britt, you've been extremely happy with how he's played. I have too. Obviously, he has an assist already as an Avalancheman. I bet you he'll have some goals with time. But I've been extremely impressed with, again, just his presence. He's everywhere and nowhere at the same time, right? It's like you don't see him coming, but then boom, he's there. It's just amazing. He's got great speed. I didn't realize he had that much speed in him. He's just
another very solid, stable,
just a super solid, a super solid and stable pick, where you don't have any like worries he'll mess up or whatever. He's very quick on his feet, very light with his stick. He's got kind of it all. He's kind of a jack of all trades type of guy, where you can plug and play.
He's known, from what I've read and gathered, he's kind of a prick. And the Avs kind of need somebody that's kind of a prick. It never hurts to have somebody that's miserable to play against. That's what you think about the Panthers. They're miserable pricks. Nobody wants to play them. There's no joy in playing them. The only joy is the last 2 seconds of the game when it's over and you beat them. But it's good to have those kind of guys because they get in people's heads a lot.
Yeah, exactly kind of how Trot and Turk put this here in his comment. McDermott, but with skill.
Yeah. It's nice
he
to
looks
have
like a guy. He'll rough it up. He's not afraid of anything, but a bigger dude, I believe. And
the penalty kill. Have you looked at the minutes? How our minutes? We're seeing Makar play. We like 22 minutes, and we are rolling lines. We're rolling through lines. Lehkonen and Drouin hurt, and we are still rolling lines and seeing Makar and Taves and McKinnon and Rantanen down in the low 20s. Oh God, that's got to be so good for their bodies. And then when you consider every minute that he is playing the penalty kill, that we don't have to put so much stress on our other top guys' bodies, means that they have more energy and more health for 5-on-5 where we can see
Exactly.
them scoring. So
Yep.
guys like him, they eat really, really hard minutes, and he's very good at it.
He really is. And speaking of penalty killers, that's going to be one of the traits I'm going to give for Yakov Trenin,
Yeah.
the last edition that we'll talk about. For the defensive side of things, he's he's replaced Logan O'Connor in a very fitting way. Now, obviously, big shoes to fill. They're not going to fit perfectly, but from what I've seen, he does a very good job being aggressive on the defensive skill side of a penalty kill. He's again one of those guys that he's everywhere. He's a very big dude. I thought Miko was big. This guy's even bigger than Miko. And he's just got the right type of mentality as far as defense and penalty kill point. And from the offensive side, the one thing I've noticed with Trenin, he is everywhere you need him to be to get scoring chances. That is one thing I've noticed.
He doesn't skate pretty, but he skates. Like, he does not skate pretty, but he does find himself in the right places. And nobody that big is gonna skate pretty. It's never gonna look that great. It just can't. But he is. He's all over the place.
He's kind of turned into old reliable, so to speak, is because he's in any scoring chance, he's one of the guys right there for either cleanup duty or trying to put in a rebound. And
he's just one of those annoying ass guys who's going to make the first, even if he's not on the starting roster for every game throughout the playoffs. He's one of those guys that we'll probably see at least in the first 3 games there to piss the team off and to wear them down and to push and push and push and push and win more faceoffs than anyone in Colorado Avalanche history. Crazy.
Probably. And you're not
wrong.
I
think he's both wing and center. Is that right? So, I mean, in a pinch.
So he can switch it up if I'm not mistaken. But overall, he's been kind of the biggest surprise because I didn't know that much about him going into this trade.
Didn't either. And I was really shocked at how delighted many of the Avalanche beat writers and all of they're absolutely stoked over him. And I thought he was just like an AHL move, but already we're seeing him. He's not nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people can be annoyed that, you look at his stats and this guy only has 6 goals and this guy only had this. And it's like, role playing is so valuable. And the role of people on fourth lines is not to score goals. It's like there's matching roles that you have to have this to match this on the other team, and scoring goals that's not their job. And that's why that we have McKinnon for that. That's why we have McKinnon. And we also have one of the best offensive defensive systems in the league. These guys are out here to just grind and waste time and stress the other teams out and play the hard minutes, takes them off of our other guys. So people need to stop talking about points because it's not relevant for guys like this. It really just isn't. And the fact that he has a couple is a good thing already. So
exactly right. And with Trenin, he's going to be kind of your motor, right? Where he'll get points, he'll get goals and assists every so often for the next few games plus our playoffs. But he's that big body just there whenever you need him to be there.
Really have a specific spot for him, so he's just kind of a jack of all trades that maybe a plug and play depending on what's going on that particular night.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like how with Duhaime, how he's everywhere on the ice, which is good to have. I will be the first to say that is a really good trait.
Especially losing Bo and Logan. We lost 2 of our most obnoxious.
Exactly.
Bo when he's on it, but have you ever noticed how often people want to just punch Logan O'Connor in the face? He must talk some mad shit. He finishes every single play. There's just those guys that just get under people's skin. So I really feel like Trenin and Duhaime are really good additions considering those losses. And Bo talks a lot of smack. Bo is an elite smack talker in the NHL. So it's good to get a couple guys that are obnoxious.
Exactly. And Trenin is kind of that same way with Duhaime, except he just happens to be placed perfectly to disrupt stuff, kind of like with what that Trotton Turk, his comment was, does the dirty work. He's that
Yeah.
motor,
And they're
right?
both
So
way bigger than the other two. Holy shnikes.
exactly, right, which is super fun because it's kind of nice seeing a super tall guy
Yeah.
just down in the dirt in the trenches, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, that's
And
you know,
not
he
just
looked.
worrying about Bo starting shit and then getting caved in.
That's right.
Like he can talk
Um,
smack, but don't touch him. Which
that's right.
also, by the way, just to point it out, Bo has been doing
He really
amazing
has.
since he got traded. I think he has 3 points in 2 games. I mean, he's
He's
just.
got 3 goals in 2 games. And
I'd love to see him flourish. It's never going to be like a bad vibes with him, especially when you go to a really shitty team. It's easy to cheer for you. So we will always
exactly.
be Team Bo.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing is with the Avalanche system and this goes even to the extent of Alex Newhook, right?
Mhm.
You
I haven't heard
you
his name
saw
lately.
as far as you could with how
Yeah.
they fit on the team. You brought them up to their potential. You had to let them go so they could be a kind of a
I would imagine
guidance for
it
those
was
other
very
teams.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously those trades hurt. I still feel for the Bo Byram trade.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it ended up looking like it's benefiting both teams, right? Okay. So with that aside, we'll go ahead and wrap up and do the look ahead for this week. We only have a couple of games to look forward to, and they are to wrap up our 4-game road trip. So Saturday, this is going to be an 8 p.m. Mountain Time puck drop. They're going to face the Oilers for, guess what, Britt? The first time this season.
Absolutely insane. Kind of pisses me off that we couldn't have just gotten in on that action when they were, letting in 9 goals every game and never showing up. But okay. Kind of feels like maybe the Truman Show in the whole entire NHL is
pretty much.
They were so bad. And then they went on their 18-game streak, and now they're back to a little bit.
Yeah.
They're about as streaky as we are at this point, and their goalie is hanging on a far finer thread than ours. So this game could be fun. Should be fun.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously it's going to be must-see TV, McDavid versus McKinnon. This one, I have this little feeling that it's just going to be punch in the mouth, they punch back, punch in the mouth, they punch back. It's going to be a real back and forth game. Maybe not by goals per se.
My biggest thing is I want to see both goalies play their best. I want to just see both. I don't want one of them to shit the bed. I want them both to just play their best. I want to see everybody playing as elite as possible, and maybe Evander Kane gets in a car accident before and can't come, and then everybody else just because I'm not here for Evander Kane.
Yeah, there you go.
But his first goal in 2 years.
Is that right?
And Evander Kane goal hit him in the butt or something, went in, and they threw their hats. They threw their hats on the ice for one goal that bounced off of him. Because first goal since 2022 or something like that. So
there you go. But yeah, definitely, like I said, it's going to be, even though it might not be with goals where it's they score, we score, they score, we score. I feel like this is going to be a very momentum heavy game where it's just all of a sudden everything is in the Avalanche offensive zone. 2 minutes later, it's going to be in the Avalanche defense zone. It's just, it's going to be able to control momentum and taking advantage of the momentum you have. That's what I'm going to say in my key to the game.
I want to see everybody peaked out. I really hope Lecky is back. Do we know what's going on with him?
He was sick.
Or Drouin? Okay, sick. Okay.
Yep.
And then Drouin
he took that spill in the Calgary game, was kind of nursing it, played the rest of the Calgary game, but just ultimately in warm-ups or something just said, I'm going to take the day off and stuff. So I think he'll be back. He might take one more off, to be determined, but I don't think it's anything long-term.
But having Nuke and Lucky both playing in the same game, which is allowed to happen, even though this year doesn't seem to want to happen. This game could be so good. It could be so absolutely ridiculously good.
Yep,
I wish we had one more game to meld the guys together before, but this might be what
Well, I think I'm going to disagree with you on that, Britt, and I'm going to say the Vancouver game did it just fine.
I hope so, because it could be the most riveting game of the season, or it could be just an absolute one of our goalies craps, and I don't know. I don't want it to be like that though.
Everything's possible.
And if you can't get the Avs broadcast, I'd highly suggest just putting it on mute because your ears will be bleeding after about 4 minutes of listening to anyone else broadcast.
My wife and I were actually talking about that
It
because
is so bad.
my wife being a Rangers fan, she obviously has Sam Rosen has the play-by-play, very iconic voice, obviously, right? And we know the nuances that both Sam Rosen and Mark Mosier do for each other, and we were kind of poking fun at it the other day. It was pretty fun. But yeah, you're gonna have a really good game, I think, on our hands on Saturday.
Everybody is watching this. Vegas sucks right now. LA sucks right now. Nobody wants. This is the game. This is the juggernaut. Like, this is a huge. Everybody's going to be watching this game, and so it would be so valuable to establish ourselves that, like, just take that dominance and really send a message, because people are talking about the Avs again. Like, you know what I mean? We're out. Our Stanley Cup is, people talk about McKinnon, and pretty much everything else is pretty far out of mind. People have a lot of doubts with Georgiev too, which part of me is like, you just put on and in. I mean, you almost got to wonder.
Potentially. It's kind of hot hand. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
What I want though, because in this game, it could be one of those where you need to put Georgiev out there so he can face the best out there to get confidence. And if he makes those saves, obviously trending is he lets in the first goal. Yeah. But if he's able to make the first 15 or whatever before he lets them in,
our defense came out and just shelter the living crap out of him for the first 5 minutes of the game. And I don't understand how we don't do that for him still, like even with Tays and McCarr. So
like I don't know. I'm not worried about his performance, because like I said, he does lock it down, which is something you do have to.
He thrives in seemingly the most
intense situations. He pulls through. So it's going to be interesting to see who they decide to put in. But you also have, I would imagine so myself, but then you also have the next game, which we're talking about here, and that's going to be St. Louis to finish your 4-game road trip. That'll be in St. Louis, obviously. This will be Tuesday, 6 p.m. Mountain Time puck drop. This one is, I feel like it's going to be a little bit more difficult between the two, because obviously with Edmonton and Colorado, they're basically locks at this point, right? They know they're in the playoffs. Obviously, it's going to be a hard-hitting game and a very impactful game. But St. Louis has everything that they're playing for right now, because they're the first guy out of the playoffs right now.
Why are we going from Edmonton to St. Louis? Is that 2 days apart?
Saturday, let's see, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so 3.
Okay. So they've got a good travel, but they'll be on such an emotional free fall after that Edmonton game. That's a lot of buildup. They've got several days until the Edmonton game, and then a couple days after. So they may be emotionally wasted to get up and come for this game. So yeah, you're right. I really think that this game might be a struggle.
Yeah, exactly. So this game, though, what my biggest key to the game is, I'm assuming they would start Jordan Binnington, the Blues. He has this little knack to go to playoff mode. And because they're the first team outside looking in, they're going to crank it up a notch, right? So you really are going to have to be ready for that. Hopefully those couple days in between is going to help, but they're going to give it 120%. And that should be the expectation. So you need to match that energy and play with that same sense of urgency that they're going to have, because again, your battle, the Avalanche battle, I should say, is for first place in the division. The Blues battle is to get into the playoffs.
Life or death, essentially.
Life or death. Literally. So you have to be able to match that.
I feel like there'll never stop being that tinge of FU between us. I don't know that it's necessarily a rivalry anymore, but there's definitely hard feelings forever. It feels like
there will be. Yep. And this game is going to be interesting again, because for those of you who do not know, my brother is a Blues fan. We have a lot of different places in my family, but my brother is a Blues fan. So obviously a lot of smack talk is going to come. So there's a lot of family bragging rights on the line for this one too. So But like I said, that's going to be my big point in the Binnington comment is you need to crack him. You need to just dismantle the goalie position completely early in the game, and then kind of just put the foot on the throat from there and just go, you know.
And that's, I think that, like, as far as keys to the game, getting out there and scoring a quick goal, as much as we've seen and appreciated Onanen and Georgiev both shutting down after letting in quick goals, Binnington is not the type that shuts it down and closes out the noise. He is the guy that cries and then just tries to fight somebody and leave. So hopefully if we can get out there and rattle him immediately, we own a lot of space in that big head of his. So I really do think the key is going to be to start the game the second the puck drops. And I feel like we've said that a lot in the last 2 years, but it really, really feels key here when there's that goalie that hates us element, goalie that struggles with his own brain and hates us element.
Yep, you're absolutely right. So that's all I had, Brit, as far as today's schedule is concerned. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add for today.
Don't think so.
Okay, yeah, pretty short upcoming schedule. Like I said, just the 2 games. So hopefully we finish 4 for 4 on the road trip. I think I'd love nothing more than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so nice that we can't finish less than 500 now. And going into this road trip, we're all just like, God, just come on with like.
Considering how the last long road trip went.
Maybe even if they're the last 2, because if you would have asked me, you almost would have thought that the middle 2 would be losses, because that last road trip was scary. It hurt. Like it's hard to have a lot of trust. So yeah, that Vancouver game was just going home 500 no matter what happens. So it's whatever.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess at this point we'll take it. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for following along. Part of the comments, we enjoyed everyone's comments as well. Most comments, I should say. There was only one guy commenting in today. The prize, you get the recognition, Trot and Turk. That's the prize. So congratulations for being the commenter on of the day. But thank you, like we said, once again, for everyone's participation and viewership. We really do appreciate it. We encourage it as well. If you want to follow the MHRT network, you can do so on the various social media platforms that they have. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Threads, you name it, they got it. If you want to follow us specifically, you can follow us at the Clusterpuck Podcast on Facebook, and then at Clusterpuck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. With that being said, let's see if we can finish out this road trip with 2 more wins, going 4 for 4. Love to have a great smiley attitude like we did in like today's episode. Love to have that for next week as well. But we'll see how it pans out. So with that being said, we hope you guys have a great rest of your week. We'll see you guys next week. And as always, go Avs, go.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute.